It's Tuesday of week 10. What I thought might be helpful at this moment in class is to provide an overview of where we're going the next few weeks of class. You'll also definitely want to refer to our class syllabus, which includes readings due and previews other details for class. This calendar just includes our topics and due dates for our last activity in modules 5, 6, and 7. This week we're going to talk about design themes and then explore logos and the work that they do. Next week, week 11, we're going to explore issues of copyright and ethics where document design is concerned. And next week we'll also get started on module 5, for which you'll essentially be creating a logo for yourself in Adobe Illustrator. Week 12, we'll explore data displays and infographics and work on our last class activity. There's only one more. We'll also workshop Module 5 drafts before they're due at the end of week 12. Week 13 is Thanksgiving week. On Tuesday, we'll discuss print conventions and considerations and get started on Module 6, where we'll be working in Adobe InDesign. Week 14, we'll talk more about strategies for responding to other people's design work, and we'll workshop Module 6 drafts. Week 15 is our last week of class, and we'll talk about design work in professional life, how to showcase your design work, and reflect on what we learned across the class activities and modules. And we'll also get started on the last class module, Module 7. There's no final exam for class. On Wednesday of finals week, Module 7 is due, along with any module or activity work that you've chosen to revise and resubmit. And this is a great time to head back to the class syllabus, review the readings due for the rest of the class, take a look at how final grades are calculated, and let me know if you have any questions at all. Next in this video, I'm going to do two things. First, I'm going to share some of your Module 4 work, and then talk a bit about creating and implementing design themes. Module 4 was our second module working with Photoshop. For activity 1, we created pictures with and through words. Here's an example. For activity 2, we created visual arguments. I thought this was exceptionally compelling, as was this. The next 3 illustrate to me that y'all maybe need to get away from your devices for a bit. This might be a bit tricky to see, but the reflection of iPhone reads "My New Life." And another. For activity 3 in module 4, you created a deliberately ugly visual, and y'all really struggled with this. I'm not sure I really saw any genuinely hideous work. Even the really bad ones deployed contrast, repetition, alignment, and/or proximity pretty well. This is arguably somewhat ugly, but I was really interested in the primary colors used in this and created this color palette, which I think actually has some redeeming features. It's pretty nice. And ugly is phenomenally contextual. I saw a lot of blobfish, for instance, in your work, like we can see here in the right corner. But let me introduce you to the toadfish. I spend a week every December fishing in Southwest Florida, and almost every year I encounter one of these, at least one of these. We've nicknamed them swimming mouths. They're slightly venomous. So the blobfish isn't really that hideous for me, comparatively. Likewise, I'm blessed to not carry the gene that makes cilantro taste like soap. I love cilantro, so I saw it predominantly here in this image and went, meh, not so ugly. For activity 4, we wrote brief instructions and included screen captures prepped in Adobe Photoshop. I want to walk through one excellent set of instructions. The author includes specific details in her title and helpful introductory text. Each step is really well explained, well written, and well illustrated across the instructions. Although I don't know where you guys get your British punctuation preferences from. We're in the US of A, and our quotation marks sit outside of our periods, question marks, and exclamation points. I don't know what you guys are reading because I keep seeing more and more British punctuation. Next, you are all going to be spelling color with a U. Anyway, again, excellent steps, great screen captures, and the author ends with a fantastic tip. As for extra credit work, the first activity challenged you to merge or mate two movies. And so we have Finding the Incredible Hulk. The second extra credit activity challenged you to design an inappropriate book cover. We have The Help, Hunger Games, and more Hunger Games. To recap, for Module 3, we worked on getting familiar with the Photoshop interface, including basics like opening, editing, and saving images. We also talked a bit about size and resolution issues, especially the differences between working on screens and working on print pages. We played with filters, worked with color, merged images, and represented a complex theoretical idea visually. For Module 4, we pushed a bit further with Photoshop, working with text and fitting font to image. We crafted compelling, culturally relevant visual arguments. We wrestled with the idea of ugly, created screen captures, and worked with writing effective instructions. And again, I want to emphasize the importance of being able to produce well-written, user-friendly, well-illustrated instructions. In your professional life, you're likely going to produce instructions, procedures, and more for a range of audiences. Don't recreate the wheel. Know the resources available to you. There are tons of tutorials out there in the world. If you can, use the existing ones or repurpose them. And invest your time and energy into instructions that are unique to a particular context or audience. Writing good instructions is an art and a technical craft and takes a lot of practicing, prototyping, and testing. And honestly, in a world where so many people can and do produce and share content, there are some really bad instructions out there. Being able to create really good ones will make you stand out. If you want to keep working in Photoshop, I'd encourage you to do so. There are lots of good tutorials out there. Try some out. If you need a specific purpose, create some end of the semester or holiday cards. Review your Module 3 or 4 work and keep working on it. And let me know if you want some more ideas on other Photoshop practice. We have one reading for today from Before and After magazine, and it's about making and implementing a design theme. So I want to share an example with you. A while back, I ran a 3-hour workshop for MSU faculty and staff about being more creative in content delivery in their classes. I knew in order to be seen as credible talking about creativity, I had to show creativity and be creative. The deliverables of the workshop were the guiding slideshow I used to move across content and activities, and each attendee received a packet which included the workshop agenda and also activity ideas and lists of readings and more. I stumbled on this image when Google searching for inspiring visual representations of creativity. Now, technically, this is likely a copyright protected image that I don't necessarily have the rights to use or alter. As we'll discuss next week, though, I felt comfortable using it and claiming fair use. I wasn't using the graphic to make money, I wasn't planning to broadly distribute or show the graphic, and the context was a teaching-related workshop. I created a design theme from the graphic, identifying a color palette and creating a variety of graphic elements. I knew I wanted to use the Gotham font family because it's MSU's brand standard and it's also really clean and readable. But I also wanted to choose a complementary font. These might look familiar because they're the font faces I'm using for our class materials too. I knew that the handwritten, friendly script look of Blackjack would nicely complement the crisp, clean simplicity of Gotham. As part of my design theme, I created a template for all the handouts, and you can see some of the design elements here, including a graphic and text header that I used on every handout, along with page layout and heading and text styles. I thought a great way to demonstrate creativity would be to create each participant packet in a different lively file folder, and I created labels for each one using the design template that I had created. For the workshop slideshow, I implemented the design theme in a variety of ways. First, through the slideshow title sequence, Think Differently, Teach Differently, Creativity in Your Classroom. Then through the body slide designs, and this is one example, and another example. Because this was a 3-hour workshop broken into 5 major chunks, I also created transition slides. This is one. Every time I shared a quote from a scholar or researcher or artist in the presentation, I designed the slide something like this. You can see a version of the design theme graphic in the background in the use of Gotham and Blackjack. And another example, and including photos of the people I was quoting was a deliberate creative technique. People are more engaged by photos and by faces. I didn't want to just put text-only quotes on the screen. I spent a good chunk of time developing this design theme, and I really liked it, so I used it in a few other contexts. For instance, this was the title slide from a talk I gave at the University of Central Florida a few months after that MSU workshop, and the second title slide. And you can see I redeveloped and redeployed some of the design features, but kept a generally similar design theme. What I hope that this example illustrated is how powerful, productive, and useful it is to develop and to implement a design theme. You might create a design theme for a one-off occasion. You might also create a design theme that guides an entire communication campaign. Your design theme should be informed, if appropriate, by your organization's or your company's style guide and brand standards. Remember a few weeks ago when we were talking about color theory and I shared Starbucks' primary style elements and then their specific campaign elements? That's a great example of an organization with a stable overarching brand standard and then design themes that are implemented for different campaigns and products. As a writer and communicator down the road, you might be implementing an organization's brand standards and design themes, or you might be creating them yourself.